Hi friends, how are we doing today? How is everybody? I am doing pretty well. I hope you are too. I thought that today we could do a little history quiz. It is a true or false quiz as opposed to a multiple choice quiz. So it might go a little bit faster than usual. I feel like I've been saying this a lot and being like, oh, I think the video is going to be a bit shorter than usual. And then it turns out to be a normal length. But I actually do think that today it'll be a bit shorter. But we'll see, because I've been wrong before. Yeah, this is just a general history true or false quiz. I just found it on chatpunk.com. It's not like official or super fact checked or anything. So if you do come across a answer that the quiz got wrong, please let me know. I'd love to know, love to learn. And it's been a long time since I took a general history class. I took AP World my sophomore year of high school, I believe. And I took AP US my junior year. But then in college, I took history courses like the history of witchcraft and the history of sexuality, which definitely crafted a different vibe than the sort of knowledge used on this test. So my history knowledge is very much niche. But yeah, actually the history of witchcraft was a super cool class. It was really fun. We got to read a bunch of like old court documents from like trials for witchcraft and stuff. And at one point the professor brought up a like woodblock print of, it was like several, they were showing art about witches, and they pulled up a woodblock print, and I was like, hold on, the like demons in that woodblock print look very familiar. And it turns out I had gotten a flash tattoo of the demons in that woodblock print several months earlier, and the tattoo artist had said that it was from a witchcraft print from, I can't remember what century it was. I want to say 1500s or 1600s, but it could have been later. And it was so funny because I had completely forgotten about that, because it was just a like flash tattoo of a design that I liked, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's my tattoo up on the board, or at least the inspiration for my tattoo. So that was pretty funny. Sorry, I have been super tired, which is not new for me, but you know, good times. Alright, so our first question, there are 20 true or false questions, and our first question is, true or false The Mongol Empire was the first empire to successfully take Japan. True or false? The Mongol Empire was the first empire to successfully take over Japan. What do you think? Is that true or is that false? And that is false. The Mongols were never able to take Japan. I've talked about this before, but when I took AP World, and I also took AP European History, which went a little bit east the way my professor taught it. Maybe, no, never mind. I was being stupid. I did take that class. It's irrelevant. It did go a bit east, but I don't believe we went into the Mongols. But when I took AP World, I was really into the Mongols. I think they're fascinating. Alright, question 2. Theodore Roosevelt created the U.S. National Park System. True or false? Theodore Roosevelt created the U.S. National Park System. True or false? What do we think? What do we think? What do we think? What do we think? This feels quite relevant considering the absolute gutting of the national park system that's taking place. The amount of people who are losing their national parks jobs and the threat to our environment, the gutting the national park system offers. Not good, bro. But it is true. Theodore Roosevelt did create the national park system. Question 3. True or false? The British Empire built the Suez Canal. True or false? The British Empire built the Suez Canal. What do we think, my friends? What do we think? It is false. It is false. The British Empire did not build the Suez Canal. It was the French. Alright. Question 4. Humanity is believed to have begun in Ethiopia. True or false? Humanity is believed to have begun in Ethiopia. Ethiopia. And that is true. That is T for true. I also took an anthropology class in college. The first semester was like biological anthropology and like early humans and stuff. And the second semester was cultural anthro. I really loved learning about early humans. That was so interesting to me. Yes, so that is true. Humanity is believed to have begun in Ethiopia. Alright. True or false? Mount Vesuvius. Mount Vesuvius has not erupted since it destroyed Pompeii in 79 AD. True or false? Mount Vesuvius has not erupted since it destroyed Pompeii in 79 is this F for false? What do you think? What do you think? That is false. It is F for false. Mount Vesuvius has erupted multiple times since, most recently in 1944. I never learned a whole lot about Pompeii. I just think of that Doctor Who episode. Alright, question 6. Question 6. True or false? James Watt invented the steam engine. James Watt invented the steam engine. Is that true or false? And that is false. Very good, my friends. It is false. James Watt did not invent the steam engine. Thomas Savery invented the steam engine. Okay. Question number 7. True or false? Hungary, the country Hungary, was technically an Axis power. Hungary was technically an Axis power. True or false? Good, good. You're doing a good job. That is false. Hungary was not technically an Axis power. Hungary adhered to the Tripartite Pact, but was never considered an Axis power. Question 8. Question 8. Question 8. Question 8. The Eiffel Tower was once the tallest structure in the world. True or false? The Eiffel Tower was once the tallest structure in the world. Is that true? Or is that false? What do we think? What do we think? What do we think? It is true. Yes, the Eiffel Tower was once the tallest structure in the world. Okay. We're gonna do question 9. Question 9, we are almost halfway through. So this is definitely going to be a shorter video, which you already know. I just don't know. So, question 9, true or false? New Zealand was discovered by Polynesians around 1200 AD. New Zealand was discovered by Polynesians around 1200 AD. Is that true or is that false? Is that true or false? I can hear the ice cream truck. Can you hear the ice cream truck? And that is true. True, that is true. New Zealand was discovered by Polynesians around 1200 AD. Alright, let's do question 10. Question 10. Minerva. Minerva is the Roman version for the goddess Aphrodite. Minerva is the Roman version of the goddess Aphrodite. Is this true or is this false? Is this true or false? It is false. It is false. Minerva is the Roman version of Athena, and Venus is the Roman version of Aphrodite. I've talked about Athena before on this channel, but a bit of a connection to her due to my college. Alright, question 11. Question 11. The first complex civilization in the world appeared around Iraq. Is this true or is this false? The first complex civilization in the world appeared around Iraq. And this is true. This is true. In the Fertile Crescent in Mesopotamia. Alright, question 12. True or false? 67 people are believed to have died in the Boston Massacre. True or false? 67 people are believed to have died in the Boston Massacre. Very good, my friends. This is false. Only 5 people died in the Boston Massacre. Alright. We are now on question 13. Question 13. And that is true or false? Hinduism is the world's oldest known religion. True or false? Hinduism is the world's oldest known religion. This is false. This is false. There are many religions that are older than Hinduism, including those of Egypt and Greece. I think it was my senior year of college. I had completed everything I needed to complete for my major, and so I took a Gnosticism class at Haverford. I was way out of my depth. I don't have a lot of religious knowledge, and pretty much everyone else in the class did. But I made it through alright. But clearly I didn't make it through well enough to remember if Gnosticism is older than Hinduism. I wanna say no, but I know it's really old. It definitely predates Christianity. Very interesting religion. Alright, question 14. Question 14. True or false? Communism never spread to South America. Communism never spread to South America. Is this true or is this false? And it is true. T for true. I definitely got this one wrong when I took it. I don't know a lot about my South American, Latin American history. I definitely need to brush up on that a little bit. And we have five questions left. 5 questions left. Question 15. True or false? The Roman Empire began in Rome. True or false? The Roman Empire began in Rome. That is true. That is true. I'm looking at the percentages on this test, and it looks like 67% of people, including myself, got this wrong. I think because you think of the Roman Empire as something that sort of stretched throughout the continent of Europe. And yeah, but I guess at the end of the day, it makes sense. Alright, question 16. True or false? The Black Death is the world's worst influenza outbreak in recorded history. True or false? The Black Death is the world's worst influenza outbreak in recorded history. And this is false. This is false. Because the Black Death was an outbreak of the bubonic plague, not the influenza. I was very interested in plagues and stuff when I was in high school and middle school, to be honest with you, and actually even younger than that, because I learned as a child about a great aunt who had polio and who was disabled from having polio, and I thought that that was so interesting that I had a porcelain doll who was used and she didn't quite stand up straight because she was old and had been used, and her name was Hannah, if I remember correctly, and I pretended that she couldn't stand up straight because she had had polio. And then I also was really into the book Fever 1793. Correct me if that's the wrong date. I'm so bad at dates. Which really fascinated me. It's a historical fiction mid-grade novel about the yellow fever. And then when I learned about Black Death in depth in my AP World class, I was like, whoa, this is so interesting. And then COVID happened, and I'm not interested in plagues anymore. Alright, question 17. Question 17. World War I, in fact, killed more people than World War II. True or false? World War I, in fact, killed more people than World War II. Is that true or is that false? And that is false. That is false. 40 million people died in World War I, and 80 million people died in World War II because the technology had advanced so far. Alright, we have 3 more questions left. Question 18. The Protestant Reformation occurred in the 1500s. True or false? The Protestant Reformation occurred in the 1500s. True or false? my teacher, Miss Hale, she was my favorite teacher in high school. I had her for AP World and AP Euro. She was really cool. And my friends and I used to hang out in her room in the mornings and just talk to her. And like looking back, I feel bad because like she definitely wanted some peace and quiet before she had to start teaching. But she called us the Breakfast Club and we'd come in and hang out with her every morning instead of going to our homerooms. But she was really into the Protestant Reformation. That was like a big thing that she liked to teach. Alright. Question 19. Question 19. True or false? Cleopatra was Egypt's only queen. True or false? Cleopatra was Egypt's only queen. What? And that is definitely false. Definitely false. Very good, guys. Another notable queen of Egypt is Nefertiti. Alright. And our final question. True or false? France colonized Madagascar. True or false? France colonized Madagascar. And the answer to that one is true. That is true. The French and France did colonize Madagascar. Alright. That is the end of our little quiz. How did you do? How did you do on the little quiz? I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a great afternoon, evening, morning, whatever